For us, when we lose a lot of those physical battles, the effort plays, the loose balls, the rebounding battles, that's our identity. And sometimes that can affect the flow of the rest of your game. We're at our best when we're winning those battles first. So you can just check that box. The physical battles, 50-50s, ball in the air, ball on the floor. We win those battles. We figure everything else out along the way.
Veteran running back from the Minnesota Vikings, who is from Miami, is supposedly going to be released today or has been released. You have said that this team is always seeking to upgrade. Does that apply at running back right now?
People that are rumored to be tall, short, people that are rumored to be, that's, you're not gonna get this guy. I'm year 2, okay? So what I am excited about is talking about the most important thing, which is the 3rd day of veteran minicamp. And we've got a lot of guys that are good players that have an opportunity to be better. Answer your question?
You see where we're going here, Ashley? There's a theme. We start off talking about Eric Spoelstra, the head coach of the Miami Heat. Move on to Mike McDaniel, the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Now we got Messi, the world famous, the Nikola Jokic of the soccer game, the Michael Jordan of soccer, the Kobe Bryant of soccer.
There you go.
Whatever. He is now with FC Miami. And, Ashley, I didn't even mention Game 3, Stanley Cup Final tonight. Florida Panthers down 0-2, taking on the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Miami is the center of the sports world, so I come to you, a daughter of Brooklyn and Queens, but the queen of Miami, Ashley Nicole Moss. Tell me what all this means. What does all this mean for people who live in Miami and South Florida on a day-to-day? How are they interpreting it, living with it?
You know what it means? It means that Miami has done its job of what it's always wanted to accomplish. When I first moved down here in college, it looked a lot different. The design district didn't exist. It was the middle of nowhere. Brickell was like one building. It looked nothing like the Miami you see now. And I think that the people down here, who make the decisions and things like that, always wanted to make Miami a major destination, not just for, vacation, but where people saw a life, where people wanted to live and work and exist. And I think for a long time, it was kind of the laughing stock, like Florida, ha, ha, ha. But now I think, post-pandemic, it changed things. There's a lot Miami has to offer. All of the major restaurants in New York, from Carbone to Catch to, Zizi's, they're all down here in Miami. Every major designer you can think of has a store in the design district. It is no longer, just a place where old people go to retire. It's a major city now. There's more New Yorkers in Miami than ever before. They call it the 6th borough for a reason. It is now a major city. And as a true East Coast girl and someone who loves New York City and makes no secret of it, there is no place that in the world outside of New York that I would live in outside of Miami, just because of what this place has turned into.
So it sounds like Miami even gets the edge over New Jersey and Connecticut for you. I mean, you go.
It definitely, there's a lot of places that get the edge over New Jersey and Connecticut, Michael.
It's right next door. It's right next door to you. I mean, I just can't believe you've just never been to Jersey. That just blows my mind.
My first time,
anyway.
my first time being like in Jersey, like for real, I'll say, I think maybe once. No, I didn't even do that as a kid. Was recently when I did the Iverson Classic. They had the Classic was in New Jersey, but as a kid, I never went to New Jersey. And as a kid, I definitely never stepped foot in Connecticut. The furthest in New York I've ever been is Long Island.
See, and you said that with emphasis. You said never been to New Jersey, and like if I'm from New Jersey, I don't really take that as disrespect. I've just never been in New Jersey. But you said, I never stepped foot in Connecticut.
No.
That is just intentional. That is disrespectful. But let me ask you this.
For what reason? What would I have to go there for?
Well, NBC Sports is there for first and foremost. That's one.
Listen, teenage Ashley didn't have an internship at NBC Sports, so.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of good things. I'm a little confused, and I think a lot of people are. A lot of people are confused by the Miami market and markets like that. Because I think Miami, New Orleans, maybe Las Vegas, people don't understand the market because they look at those cities as just, it's vacation, it's fun, it's party. And so they wind up missing the essence of what those sports fans there are. And Los Angeles, same thing. They come up with some cliches to describe the sports fan. Hey, people in LA, they don't care. Oh, Miami, they're just there to wear white all the time. They're not really into the games. They really...
I know.
And I found myself even, and this sounds ridiculous, I used to do this with Vegas, and I think Vegas is a lot different now with baseball possibly going there. They want basketball to be there. Football is there. Hockey is there and thriving, obviously. I remember one time, I know this is hard to believe, but one time I had to cover a story out in Vegas. It was a boxing story. It was a boxing news story. This is hard to believe for a lot of people. A boxer... during a fight, actually bit off the ear of another boxer. Okay, and they were having.
Really? I wonder who that is. Yeah, wow, what a story.
So Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson losing, and I got to do something, so I'm just gonna bite this brother's ear off. So there was a hearing out in Vegas. They had a boxing hearing on this whole thing, and I remember being there, and I was a grown-up thinking, wow, they actually have like city councilors and like a city hall in Las Vegas. Of course they have a city hall. Of course it's a real city. But I always looked at it like a toy. It was like a city inside of a cartoon. I never really took it seriously. And I think a lot of people make that mistake of destination cities. They don't really talk to enough real everyday people who are not always at the Vegas Strip, who are not always at South Beach. They're living their lives there. So give me, like, from your experience, and you've been there for a while, your experience, the Miami Heat fan, for example. First NBA Finals game in 9 years. What's the vibe? What are you feeling from Miami Heat fans now that they're down 2-1 to the Denver Nuggets in this real city of Miami?
No, I mean, they're excited. The whole city's excited. You can't go into a supermarket of Publix without seeing Miami Heat balloons and, flags. And there are people with Miami Heat flags on their cars. And, I think that people have a misconception that when you live in a place that is a travel destination, that your life is just clubs, beach, bar, repeat. You know what I mean? That's not really what it is. When you live here, you live a normal existence. You just happen to live in a beautiful place where, on the weekends, if you wanted to do those things, you don't have to hop on a flight to do it. You don't have to book a hotel to do it. You just, drive your car to wherever. But I get that a lot. It's really funny because whenever I have my friends, and I used to think like this too, but whenever I have my friends who come from New York, and they'll come to Miami for a week, whether it's for a special occasion like F1 weekend or Art Basel or just for the weekend. And they'll say, oh my God, like 3 days in, like, I don't know how you do it. I am exhausted. Like, how do you do this? I'm like, we don't do it. I'm not at Liv, every weekend. Like, that's just not what I do. Like, I'm not, drinking every weekend, 24 hours a day. Like, I live a normal existence. I work, I go to the gym, like I'm home, like. So Miami fans are excited. They definitely party a little bit. We definitely, have a different type of atmosphere down here in Miami. Miami fans tend to party a little bit differently. They do have Club Live at Dolphin Stadium, Hard Rock Stadium. And, they do have a club in, where the Heat play in the basement. So, at halftime, if you want to go dance and get a shot, you can do that. So it's a little different. But they're regular people also.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. It's one of my favorite places to go, and I wonder how much basketball will be played there after Friday night. Just throwing it out there. I wonder how much basketball will there be another game after Game 4 in Miami. We'll see. We'll talk about that. But hold that thought, because we will talk about that in detail. We'll talk about that in detail with Liv Moods coming up in about 9 or 10 minutes. But I want to pay off some of this other stuff that we got to since we're on this whole Miami theme. The second thing was Dalvin Cook potentially going to the Miami Dolphins, and Mike McDaniel played that off. He was like, hey, we ain't talking about that. We're talking about day 3. Okay, good. You don't want to talk about it, Mike McDaniel. You just gave us a platform to get going. I don't think he's going to the Dolphins. I'll tell you, though, and I'm glad you're here. I'm not just saying this because you're here. Oh, a great team for Dalvin Cook. Ooh, a great team, a team that may need a running back because it released its star running back or former star running back who was once the number 4 overall pick, who used to do this after carries. Let me eat.
Yes.
Let me eat. Oh, half shirt. What's up, Buckeye? Zeke is out, but Dalvin Cook, Dalvin Cook, Cowboy, what's up? You think?
It would be interesting if they made that move because, Zeke, for all his shortcomings, he also is somebody who knows the team very well. And if you were able to bring him back cheaper, I don't see why you wouldn't explore that option. With that said, Dalvin Cook, I think, could be a great second option to back Tony Pollard, who's now running back number 1. It would be sad for me, though.
Vice versa.
I don't know. No,
Tony Pollard.
Dalvin Cook's not running back number 1.
What? Tony Pollard is coming off an injury, isn't he?
Tony Pollard's running. Tony Pollard's running back number 1.
Okay.
Not Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook would be a great option to basically do what Zeke's role would be. Yes, of course, but he would be what Zeke's role would be, and that is somebody who's really a workhorse, can hit those holes, hit those gaps. Tony Pollard's more of like that hybrid, that elusive. Not saying that Dalvin Cook isn't, but I think that their builds are a little bit different. That makes Tony Pollard a little bit more elusive. But he would be a great option just to have on that team because, again, Tony Pollard is not a running back who has played many downs. Remember, he was always behind Ezekiel Elliott. And it wasn't until last season that you really started to explore giving him more touches. Now, what happens is that sometimes your body is not used to that. It's not used to being that number 1 option. You saw the wear and tear it took on Ezekiel Elliott. So having a Dalvin Cook, who is more of a hybrid hybrid running back, so a running back / wide receiver, would be tremendous, especially if that's a direction that you want that offense to go. So I like Dalvin Cook. It would make me sad, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, I think it's just these stories of releasing a guy and then bringing him back cheaper. That sounds good. They rarely happen. And we'll talk about it a little later in the show. It's been floated for an NBA player who's in the news. Hey, maybe they release him and then they bring him back cheaper. No, it's usually
it should be the case though for him.
But it's business. It's business. And once again, we're talking about real people with real feelings and real egos. And a lot of times that gets in the way, and I understand it, not even being critical of it. I understand, oh, you did this? You didn't think I was worth, paying this salary, but you see the value in having me around. You respect my presence, but you don't want to pay for it, and you want a discount and all that stuff. And so people wind up going other places. Then pay off the last one. So we started off with Eric Spoelstra, went to Mike McDaniel talking about Dalvin Cook, and the last one, hey, Messi. Messi had an opportunity. If you believe the story, he's had an opportunity to get $1 billion.
Tax-free.
Had an opportunity to get $1 billion. And he turned it down, going to Miami, where David Beckham is there running things at FC Miami. So I think this is just awesome. It's huge for Miami, but also MLS. I've heard so many soccer snobs, and they're like, and some people would say that's an oxymoron. Or that's redundant. But I'm not going to go there. I have heard some soccer snobs, though, say, I can't even watch MLS. I can't even watch it. That's not real soccer. You ever watch the Premier League? You ever do that? I mean, it's just like, okay. No, I do watch the Premier League. Thank you, NBC. I watch the Premier League. But I live in Boston. There's an MLS team here called the New England Revolution. There's an MLS team in Miami and in Seattle and Columbus and Portland. Come on now. And now we got Messi. We got Messi. We, the royal we in this country. We got Messi. How you feel about it? I'm excited.
I'm so excited for this. I'm a huge Messi fan. He's my GOAT, when it comes to the sport. It's monumental because there has never been, the last person you can think of was David Beckham when he signed with the LA Galaxy, him coming over from the UK and, him having his whole career in Europe and heading over to the States and bringing Posh Spice, Victoria Beckham with him. It was huge, but it didn't really quite pan out quite the same way that I think that this will. Messi is coming to a market that is very much intertwined with Latin culture. I mean, Miami has so many different Latin communities here. Soccer is such a huge sport down here because of that intertwined with the Latin community, but also there has never been a magnitude of this kind of a star from the soccer world or football play in America. Play in America.
Well said.
I mean, this is Messi. Like, this would be the equivalent of Ronaldo coming here and playing, in America. This is huge. Or Neymar coming and playing here, and even that, Messi is the creme de la creme. This is a huge opportunity, not just for the city of Miami, not just for Inter Miami and what that's going to do to that football club, but just overall MLS soccer in America in general. It's going to be so fun to watch. I mean, the anticipation for his arrival is so huge that not only has their Instagram following grown tremendously, I think they were at like 1 million followers.
And now they're at like 6
million followers. But Michael, like where they play right now, they play at a stadium. It's a temporary stadium. It's in a city in Fort Lauderdale, on Commercial and Power Line. It's a smaller, temporary, not really overly sexy, stadium. But they're going to be building this massively beautiful stadium, in Miami. I think it overlooks the water. David Beckham finally got the permit for it. He's been fighting for it for years. That's not even going to be ready yet. There is such an anticipation for Messi in Miami. They're going to have to play where the Dolphins play in the interim because there's not enough space to play at the current arena because of what he brings in anticipation and in fandom. Ticket prices at one point, Michael, the lowest ticket price I think to see Inter Miami play, maybe $50, $60 at most. As of yesterday, the lowest ticket price is almost $500. That's crazy. The Messi in Miami effect. It is huge.
Messi in Miami, and I got to give a shout out to my buddy Dave Cherubin, who is not a soccer snob, but he's always feeding me soccer information. I work with him in Boston. He said Inter Miami sold out his 2023 home season, but is currently taking non-refundable season ticket deposits for 2024 because of Messi. And their Instagram, as you mentioned, it had been 900,000. It had been 900,000 followers. And then it spiked up to the millions when Messi got there. And the same thing with PSG. PSG had 38 million Instagram followers. But when Messi signed in 2021, right now, it's almost doubled to 70 million. This is all about Messi. And the last thing I'll say, then we're going to talk some hoops with Liv Moods. Last thing I'll say to you, Ashley, is just like one thing you said. I just want to be clear as we go to break. I want to be clear on this. You said Messi is your GOAT. So you're saying Messi is the LeBron James. He's the LeBron James of soccer, right? That's what,
he's more the Michael Jordan of soccer. He's the Michael Jordan of soccer.
But LeBron James. You mean LeBron James. You don't mean Michael Jordan.
Well, Jordan's the GOAT, so.
Oh, is he?
Oh. He's the GOAT. Yeah.
I don't know.
Jordan's the GOAT.
We're not revisiting that. We're not looking closer.
He's the GOAT. I'm pretty sure he's the universal GOAT, but yeah.
It doesn't deserve any further investigation.
No, he's
Just
the GOAT.
gonna leave it at that.
I'm gonna leave it at that.
Maybe there's a new GOAT. We'll talk to Liv Moods about perhaps a new GOAT in the NBA. That's coming up next.
Who's your daddy? Christian Braun is. MPJ dead man walking, but no worries, here comes Christian. Shout out to the Nuggets defense for figuring something out. And two, not just one, two 30-point triple doubles. One by Jamal Murray and two by Nikola Jokic, who had a historic night, 32-21-10. Never been done before in the NBA Finals. All I'm saying is don't let this Nuggets team get embarrassed again, because if they do, you are entering scary hours. Let's go Nuggets.
The one and only Liv Moods talking that ish immediately after. I mean,
that's
like
right.
Game 3 probably was over by like 17 seconds, and there you are, just out there, just talking trash to people. What's up though?
Quick on the
What's up, go ahead.
Listen, that's like my whole thing right now is, as quickly as I can get on people's nerves, that's what I'm going to do, because it's fresh. The wounds are opened. It's time to put the salt in them. But in all seriousness, I think that was more just me taking a finally being able to take a deep breath, because as much as I talk trash and I boast about how great this Nuggets team is, the Heat are good, and the Heat scared me, and the Heat scared a lot of Nuggets fans in game 2. So, that's just me staying on brand with the trash talk, but knowing full well that this Miami Heat team is very dangerous. And, I just had to capitalize on that little bit of confidence that I felt, because we were served a nice slice of humble pie in game 2. 27 days it had been since Nuggets fans had felt an L. So humble pie is what we had, and it didn't taste great. So I just had to, I had to throw my jabs in there.
Michael, before we go any further, Liv and I are basically Siamese twins today, because we have followed each other from multiple different shows in the span of 5 hours. So
right.
When I get on the show today and the
hip.
producer's like, yeah, we're going to have Liv, I said, I literally just saw Liv. Like, we are attached at the hip today.
I love it.
We are taking this whole best friend thing a little bit too far.
We might be.
We might be glued together by the end of this year. We're not quite sure. We'll stand by for that. But Liv, the last time we spoke about this was just a few hours ago. We mentioned about Jokic. We mentioned about Jamal Murray, but we also mentioned about the absence of Michael Porter Jr. Now, looking at this series, looking ahead, game 4, game 5, game 6, I had Nuggets in 6. If it goes past 6, what is the biggest concern about not so much MPJ defensively, because he's still, contributing there, but offensively, what is the biggest issue with him right now?
I think the only issue really with MPJ, if he continues to struggle offensively, because at the end of the day, we see this all the time with athletes, right? They have bad games. They kind of go cold. They get into this mental block. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing with MPJ. It's not a matter of talent or skill. It's a matter of mentally, he's got to get out of his own head here. And I actually saw a quote on Twitter recently from a Denver Nuggets reporter that said, when they asked him about his offensive roadblock, they said, how do you respond? And he says, I get mad. So he's frustrated just like the rest of us. He knows that this is not his game. He knows that in the last series with the Lakers, he had a lot of opportunities at making some shots, and he's just not getting that. That's a very, very large testament to what this Miami Heat defense is doing. So as much as he wants to take it personal, he also has to understand, hey, they watched you. They watched you in the Western Conference Finals, and they know that you're an exceptional three-point shooter, so you are a priority to them. So as frustrating as it may feel, there's a reason he's being prioritized, because he's good, and he's been making an impact in the postseason for this Nuggets team. But I will tell you, if we get the version of the Nuggets from game 2, I am concerned about MPJ not showing up. If we get the version of the Nuggets in game 3 where, hey, it doesn't matter. If you don't have a good game, we got you. Because that's really what has been this Nuggets norm for the entire season. Hey, if Jamal Murray can't show up, here comes Jokic with an 18-point quarter. And then we've got Bruce Brown, Christian Braun coming off the bench doing what he does. So if we get game 3 Nuggets, that effort, I really think it was the difference between game 2 and 3. This isn't a team that transformed. They just showed more effort. So if we can get that same intensity and effort from them moving forward, I'm okay with MPJ not having great offensive games because I think the rest of them can pick up the slack.
Christian Brown, and the B stands for big body, Michael. You saw the way he took it at Jimmy Butler. He said, "Move."
I like
move,
that.
Oh man.
Oh yeah. Listen, he was doing some. They were working hard out there. So it was effort, but it was also excellence. And let's let Michael Malone take it from here.
By far their greatest performance as a duo in their 7 years together. I've always felt, Ramona, that Nikola and Jamal Murray are one of the most elite and lethal two-man game combos in the NBA. And we've seen that growing for 7 years now, and I think it was on full display once again tonight. A lot of guys play with each other. You know, I think those two guys play for each other and off of each other, and they read each other so well. And the best part about it is early in the game, I mean, Jamal was getting blitzed tonight. He had two guys on him a lot, and he didn't fight it. I mean, like, I think early in the playoffs, there were games where he was getting attention and he was trying to make, like, the home run play maybe at times. But for him tonight to come off, I got two guys on me, I'm just going to find Nicole in the pocket or Christian Brown cutting, whatever it may be. So it was really impressive, Jamal's performance. But, yeah, those two guys as a two-man combo, they give a lot of people headaches.
That was a bar.
No, before I ask y'all, it was. I know. It was.
It was a bar.
I was going to ask y'all about something else before I heard that clip again. And after hearing that clip, I focused on a different part, and I want to start here. He said it's been growing for 7 years. Not growing for 2 years, not growing for 4, it's been growing for 7 years. So let's just keep this focus here that they're 2 wins away from winning an NBA championship, their first NBA championship, and they didn't do it in 2 years. And they didn't do it in 4 years. And they didn't do it in 5 years. And maybe I'm saying this because I live in Boston and I'm hearing people talking about, hey, breaking up Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum because, hey, they haven't won it yet, and when is it gonna happen? In this case, it's 7 years. Sometimes it takes a while. We're just so impatient and want it to happen yesterday. Oh, like if it doesn't happen in 3 years, then it's never going to work.
Yes.
Sometimes you got to be humbled before you come back and celebrate. What do you think, Liv?
I just said this earlier with Ashley. We were going back and forth talking about a few different guys in the league, and what I said is that time frame. A lot of these players get impatient. It's like, I want to win right now. Okay, well, sometimes it doesn't happen overnight, right? Especially, I think something that a lot of people are forgetting to realize about this Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray duo is this isn't the result of superstars team hopping to find a ring, right? These are two guys that, whether they liked it or not, were put together and they made it work. And it took time and it required patience. This is a Nikola Jokic that was drafted in the middle of a Taco Bell commercial, for God's sake. I mean, this was not a situation where, hey, I want to chase a ring, so let me go, join Jamal Murray and the crew over there and let's see what we can make happen. No, these are two guys that were drafted to the same team, and hey, how are we going to make this work? And they have. And I think that's what's so special about what we're seeing. They are by far, by a mile to me, the best 1-2 punch in the league right now because they have had time and patience to build what they have. And right now, it just feels untouchable. But again, 7 years, you would kind of expect it to be that way at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like the anti-ring culture of what the NBA has become, right? It's all about rings. We unfortunately, depending on the person, but majority of NBA fans and talking heads will go ahead and rate the importance of a player and what they mean to the sport based on how many rings that they have. And that kind of started with the whole super team thing, right? Because we saw it working in some capacity at a big three. We saw it work in Boston. We saw it work in Golden State. And that all of a sudden became the culture. But also, it doesn't always work like that. That's not always the case. We saw that in Brooklyn. We saw that in Phoenix. Sometimes you have to go ahead and get it from the ground up or get it out the mud. So that's one part of it. I think also the difference between Denver and Boston is Denver is Boston is a championship town, right? They're spoiled by the fact that the Boston Celtics have won multiple championships. You have the Red Sox that win World Series. You have the Boston Bruins. You have the New England Patriots. That is a town that is accustomed to constantly winning. So, and winning quickly. So if you don't get those results fast, they're unhappy and they say, well, we got to start over. Whereas you look at a city like Denver, that's a little bit of a sleepier town. It's not the biggest market. It's not the sexiest market. You kind of are able to grow a team without all that pressure because listen, this is a team that's never done it before. So there are no expectations. We just want to see y'all win. If you get there, cool. If you don't, we don't have any expectations. So what they're doing is so monumental to the city and to the fans because it's never been done before, but they were also able to do it without that pressure. And I think that's also a huge difference maker.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'll say this, and Liv, you've seen this all year, not just this year, you've seen it the entirety, really, of Jokic's career. Against certain opponents, it's going to be really difficult for them to do what they want to do. For the opponents always say, hey, deny this guy the ball. Just deny him the ball. Well, he's 7 feet tall. He's bigger than everybody. He's wider than everybody. And you see him do it sometimes. He'll be like, okay, just throw it up there. And they loop it up. And he's the only one who can get it. And then he starts doing this thing. So one of the major advantages the Nuggets have on offense is that their number one assist guy is always going to have the ball. You can't really deny him the ball without fouling.
Right.
And so it's going to be, he makes his free throws. He makes the right passes. He can score in the mid-range. He can shoot threes. What I'm trying to say is, now I need you to talk trash for me here, Liv. Why do we have so much negativity when Jokic was leading the MVP race? Why was there so much negativity around Nikola Jokic? Hey, I'm going to introduce y'all to Nikola Jokic. What do we think? We have any questions? Any haters? What's up now? What you going to say now? Liv, take it from me.
Well, I'll tell you what, and I know exactly what it is because I, as a fan, watch him and he's playing the world's ugliest basketball. And that's not an insult to his talent because his talent is through the roof, but his shots are hideous. They are the grossest shots that you will see out of any player in this league, and they're effortless and they look sloppy and they look lazy, yet it is just this unnatural talent that is unstoppable. And I think it drives people insane because how do you read that? If I'm guarding a guy, if I'm trying to guard a guy like Jokic, I'm looking at that shot going, the uncontested, it's not going in. And it does every time. I mean, he is a hard guy to not only, I'm sure, guard and play against, but also to watch because he has this nonchalant energy about him where you've got guys that are, throwing themselves around and they've got this, what looks like this hustle and aggression and whatever. And then you've got this Jokic just kind of bebopping around, balling on everybody. And I think it's so out of the norm that it just is frustrating to people. And I think the sooner that people can just let go of the fact that he just doesn't look, he is not ever going to give you the attractive game you're looking for. But I'll tell you what, he will ball on everybody on the court. And that's just his game. It's who he is. And I don't think he's stopping it anytime soon. So yeah, some of the most unattractive basketball that you'll watch, unless he's passing, that's when the attraction starts to turn on. But his shots, as a fan, they are just absolutely hideous to me. But he makes them and he wins games and he's having historic nights, 32, 21, 10. That sounds like a typo, but it's who he is. It's unreal.
Michael, you ever see a dog or an animal that was like so ugly it was cute? You ever see like a dog like that?
We got 3 of them. We got 3.
Okay,
we got 3 pugs.
Whoa, okay.
We got 3 pugs. Pugs. Yeah,
okay, pugs. That's a great example.
Okay.
I'm not happy about it, but go ahead.
Jokic's game is like a pug. It is so ugly that it's attractive. Like, it is just like, he is not this physical specimen. He's not like a LeBron where he's cut and he's ripped. He doesn't have a sexy, elusive game like a Magic or an Iverson or a Kobe. He's not, when he runs up the court, he always looks like he's out of gas. It's not like he's a full-blown Olympian. So it's so hard for people to wrap their mind around how you can have all those things negative about your game and still be the most efficient player on the floor. You are a combination of Larry, of Dirk, of Magic. It's honestly insane how you can be all those things and not be all of the things that you think of a perfect basketball player would be, and yet you exactly are a perfect basketball player. If you were building a perfect player in 2K, it would be Jokic. Like, if you are building your player, you want him to have his height, his skill set, his ability to assist, his ability to rebound, his ability to score. So I think that people are unable, much like Liv said, to wrap their minds around how somebody who has all those things against them can still be the most efficient. And I'm personally someone who did not understand how you could watch what Jokic had done the entirety of the regular season. And I know you can make the case in the last 4 weeks, maybe Joel Embiid had a better season than him, whatever. I'm somebody, when it comes to the MVP, it's not a 4-week thing. It's a full-blown NBA season.
Give me the whole thing.
So while, technically, Embiid did have a better season. Jokic and the Nuggets were losing, and Jokic was on the floor. I get that, not mad at that. But I don't know how you could have looked at that entire season and still walked away with Embiid as being your MVP pick. For me, it was always Jokic. Yeah. For me, he should be a 3-timer.
Absolutely. And you know what?
Jokic.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Liv, real quick. And I've never seen anybody put so many good shots on the rim. I was thinking about that last night. Like, the shot is he puts it on the rim and it's a soft touch. I'm like, he's putting that on the rim intentionally and it's going in. It's the difference between some guys who are bad at closing. Like, I do the same thing, but it never goes in. But he just has the right touch. And he's a great closer too. What were you gonna say, Liv?
Well, I was just gonna say the word for him to me is untraditional. And we've watched this game of basketball grow, but there's a lot of fundamental things that have never changed, right? You know, you've got these guys trying to come out of college and go to the league. And what do they think? I got to get in the gym. I got to get really strong. I got to study film. I got to be, this perfect person in front of the camera and tell everybody what they want to hear. I've got to have this, I've got to embody everything that it is to be an NBA player. You've got Nikola Jokic saying, oh, I didn't watch the Eastern Conference Finals. I was walking my daughter. Or, yeah, we won the Western Conference Finals. It was really cool. But it felt, I thought it would feel a little cooler. He's in the offseason. They have to deliver his trophies to Serbia because he's riding horses, drinking beer. I mean, he is so untraditional that I think he's shaking it up and people are just not ready for it, but he's doing it regardless. This is a guy that is unapologetically Jokic. He's not stopping for anybody. He'll never apologize for it. And untraditional is my word for him because we have this game of basketball that continues to change over the years, but all those fundamental pieces that these athletes feel like they need to have to be successful in this league, he is now debunking all of that.
He's funny, you know what, Michael?
It's so great.
Well, Don't you like funny people, Michael? Like when Jokic was asked about being picked last in the NBA All-Star draft, he said, I don't know, this game is not for me. I don't care. Like, he's funny. He's just funny.
If he could make as much money riding horses in Serbia, he has said this. If he can make as much money horse racing in Serbia as he does in the NBA, he would not be an NBA back. Do you hear how that sounds? As good as he is, he has said, if I made this much money back home on the back of a horse in a wagon, I would do that. Like, a lot of these guys are like, no, this is my passion. I live and die by this game. And Jokic is like, yeah, it's fun, but like, if I could ride horses, I would. It's like, he's just shaking it up. I honestly love it.
I was going to say to you guys, I thought I had one last thing. I have two quick things at the end. One is I think we need to revisit my all-star basketball team versus Natalie's. Because I think I had Jokic on my team, and Natalie said her team was better than mine. I think with the benefit of hindsight, we should probably revisit our all-star teams and see who had the better team. I think I'm going to come out ahead there. That's one. And the other thing is, since I'm out of the prediction game, I need you all to help me. Last thing, what happens going from here? We're 3 games in to the NBA Finals, potentially 4 games left. Not Natalie. Ashley, I'm going to start with you because I think I know what Liv is going to say. But Ashley, what does the rest of this series look like?
Mine was always Nuggets in 6. I think that Miami has a good chance of winning game 4 just because Spoelstra is a adjustments genius. I think that Miami's going to have that pressure on them. They'll rise to the occasion, but I think then the Nuggets win at home in 5 and they win 6 in Miami, and then the series is over.
All right. So we got Nuggets in 6. Liv, I think I know what you're going to say, but go ahead and say it.
Listen, I talk a lot of trash as we started this show by saying, and showing there was actual living proof, so I can't really even back away from it. I talk a lot of trash, and the thing about social media is there are receipts, and I have been saying Nuggets in 5 over and over and over again. What I'm going to tell you is, I think the Miami Heat had an exceptional game too, and I will not rob them of that. But what I talked about earlier today, actually with Ashley, was if I'm a Miami Heat fan, I would not take that W and run with it. Why? Because the Nuggets did a lot of things wrong in game 2, and it was only a 3-point win by Miami. First game in Miami. I'm here to tell you right now, if I'm a Heat fan, I'd feel a whole lot better about game 2 if it was a blowout. It was not. There was a lot of things going wrong for Denver. The effort wasn't there. Defensively, they didn't show up. Nothing from MPJ. Nothing, really, really bad mistakes from KCP. Costly fouls. There were a lot of things working against them, and they still only lost by 3 points. So Nuggets in 5 is still alive. I'm going to keep rocking with it because there's receipts out there. I've talked a lot of trash, and I also believe, I'm not going to call game 2 a fluke, but I think if the Nuggets keep showing up, which I believe they will, I think they can wrap this thing up here pretty quickly.
You had Suns in 4 guy, and she's Nuggets in 5 girl. Remember Suns in 4 guy?
He was obnoxious, and he hurt my feelings because I was against my Nuggets, and it hurt.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Hey, listen, always great to chat with you, Liv.
Thank you.
And Ashley. How many more shows? How many more shows in the next couple of days y'all gonna do together? That's what I want to know.
The sky is the limit. God only knows.
Let me know the schedule, and I'll follow along. I'll be a groupie.
There you go.
I'll support y'all. Appreciate it. Ashley, this dropped yesterday. Interesting. First, it was that the Suns were going to release Chris Paul, $15 million, save that on the cap, blah, blah, blah. Perhaps move DeAndre Ayton too later. It's going to reshape the team. Now they're exploring their options with Chris Paul. And that may include a deal with another team, perhaps the Lakers. Yeah. Are you surprised, first of all, just like your reaction to the news that Chris Paul no longer a fit with the Suns?
Not surprised because, multiple seasons now, he's been injured when they needed him the most. And in the NBA, your availability is your best asset, right? So not surprised there. Also, I think this team realizes that a lot of them need to get younger in order to win. KD's not getting any younger. And I think that they realize they need more. They don't have enough. And Chris Paul takes up a lot. He sucks up a lot of cash. He's making almost, what's his salary? I think he's making almost, $40 million a year, something around that number?
That's right. Huge number. Right. Well, 30. And this year would have been 30. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of cash. So I'm not surprised, but I am surprised that they think that they're going to be able to move him. Because here's the issue. He's making a lot of cash. He's not Lob City Chris Paul. He does deal with injuries, unfortunate injuries at the worst possible time. Not saying that's his fault by any means, but it's the reality. And I don't know what team would gut a lot of their team in order to pay him what he's worth in terms of what he's being paid. In order to get
what
him.
He's worth. No, teams can pay him what he's worth.
No. They can pay him what he's worth. I'm saying not what he's getting.
What he expects.
Right.
What he expects. Right.
Right. Correction. That's absolutely correct. Yeah. So
I think go ahead.
He has to take a pay cut, Michael. That's the only way this can exist. And not only in Phoenix. Let's take Phoenix out of the equation. Say he doesn't want to be there anymore. Yep. Chris Paul has to realize he's not Lob City Chris Paul. He's not Lob City CP3. If you do not take a pay cut, I do not see where he can possibly go that would be willing to pay him what he's currently being paid. He has to take a cut in some capacity. I'm not saying vet minimum, but that salary's got to be cut in half somewhere. Like, it's just not going to work.
At least cut in half, if not more. And, Chris Paul just turned 38. You mentioned Durant. Durant will be 35, I believe, in September. Mm-hmm. So you've got guys like that, 38, 35, and then you got Booker, who's still a young guy, but you can't have those guys and say, well, wait for the playoffs. Once you get past your mid-30s, 2 and past your mid-30s, you can't say wait to the playoffs because you just don't know if those guys are going to hold up. You don't know how reliable their bodies are going to be. And already we know the answer with Chris Paul. His salary needs to be cut, you're right. He needs to be load managed as well. And he probably needs to be on some kind of different training program because you just set your clock to it. There's going to be some groin injury. There's going to be something, hamstring, whatever it is. Chris Paul's going to have an issue. So I understand why the Suns moved on from him. And I'm saying that in the past tense. They will move on. I don't think he will play for the Suns again. But what
you bring up a good point with the load management, because not only that, there has to be a realistic expectation. If there is a team that trades for him, that team has to be prepared. You're not going to have, if you want Chris Paul when you need him, you can't have him throughout the entire season. And there needs to be an expectation that you are going to be paying a player in whatever capacity you're paying him that you're not going to have probably until after the All-Star break. If I were a team, truthfully, he wouldn't see playing time until March. Truthfully. Just because that is just what the trajectory of his career thus far has looked like.
It's a good point. I'll say this one quick thing, but we'll talk about this another time, this Chris Paul point, because I really want to explore this with you and see what you think about it. I'm workshopping something. It. It's not complete yet. I'm workshopping something on Chris Paul, and I'm going to say he is the last of a certain type of NBA point guard. If you think about, I think he finished 4th in assists this year. I think he's the last one. So the leader in assists this year was James Harden, not a traditional point guard. Second guy in assists was Trae Young, not a traditional point guard. Jokic, need we say more? Jokic is 3rd in assists. Chris Paul 4. Then you have Doncic, Ja Morant, who we're going to talk about in a second. So if you go down the list, Ashley, and try to think of every time you will hear a fan say, you know what they need? They just need a pure point guard. Show me one. Show me a pure point guard. They don't exist. I don't think they exist outside of Chris Paul, but we'll talk about that another time. Another guy, Ja Morant, is not a pure point guard, and he is not just a pure basketball player, at least not at the start of the 2023-24 season. If you listen to Adam Silver has a little bit of an issue with Ja Morant. Here's the commissioner.
I know Ja a bit. I had known him. He's a star in our league. And the sense was he came in, he fully owned it, was saying, I made a terrible mistake. Learned from the mistake. And so then to get the report and then to see online that, in fact, he was then live streaming a gun, certainly looks like a gun, a Glock, in a kind of reckless manner. Sure, I was incredibly disappointed. Would 12 games have made a difference the first time, 15 games? I really don't know. I also, the older I get, I realize that I can't control other people and that he has to own his own conduct. And regardless of the number of games he had been suspended for first time around, he owns this, not me. And he has to take responsibility for it. And part of this, it's fine for somebody to come in and take responsibility for their action. And I'll even give him the benefit of the doubt that he was sincere. He's now made this mistake again. And I think one of the things we even talked about then is nobody's naive in the league office, certainly not Joe Dumars, been at this a long time, was, we'll see as you go back out into the world, how you choose to comport yourself. And so now here we are again.
Here we are again. He says, here we are again. There was a report that the gun was a toy gun. Ashley,
It was a what? It was a toy gun?
it was a toy. That was one of the rumors that that's not a real gun. It was a toy gun. I don't know. I just don't know. Ja Morant just seems like a guy who is just, I'm not even judging him. It's like, I'm more interested in talking about the basketball, quite honestly. Just hoop. I want to talk about hoop. I just feel like this is a guy who is looking for attention outside of basketball, and I'm not sure why. He needs something. Basketball is not satisfying him enough. He needs something else.
Michael,
And he's about to get he's going to get a big
I'm
suspension.
going to keep it
what
short
do you
and
think?
sweet.
Please, thank you. Please do.
I've been very much trying to find a deeper meaning to all of this, but if it in fact was a toy gun, that is so moronic that moronic's not even a word to describe it. You know, you're already in a situation. You have eyes on you from a situation with a real gun. Why on earth, one, are you walking around with a fake gun? And why on earth times two would you think waving a fake gun on Instagram was a good idea? Nobody can tell it's fake from a video. So you're walking a thin line already from an instance with a gun, and you think, okay, I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to do it with a fake gun. So that way I can't get in trouble. It doesn't work like that.
Woo!
That doesn't make any sense. He should have, honestly, Michael, he would have been better off leaving the toy gun thing out of it. He should have just said it was a regular gun. Because a toy gun just means that like you just don't have the wherewithal to understand repercussions to actions.
I don't know if he said it or if it was a rumor from his camp or back channels.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's wrong with just playing basketball? What's wrong with playing basketball?
Shoot, sign me up.
Let's talk about, coming up, I can't wait to talk about another guy in that draft who had more than basketball in his mind. That's coming up next. Ashley, it was just supposed to be a gender reveal. It was just supposed to be a celebration of Zion Williamson and his girlfriend saying she's pregnant. And then all hell broke loose. Oh, wow. I'll tell you what, I was up all night reading these tweets. Mariah Mills. Woo! Oh, Zion Williamson, you got some problems and situations, my brother. What did you think of this whole Twitter thread between Zion and his
All I know, Michael, a wise man once said, the partner you choose will either be your biggest asset or your biggest liability, so choose wisely. Zion, I hope you made the right choice, my brother. That's all I asked. That's all I say.
You know what? This dude doesn't have time for basketball. He didn't have time for it. I mean, like, this is just like a full-time job for him. He has got a lot going on. No wonder you ain't on the court. Thanks for hanging out. See y'all later. Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.